I want to share with you a really important point when it comes to speaking regarding your interaction with your audience and never being afraid to challenge your audience. This is a subject that over the years I've become, I think from a personal perspective, a lot more attuned to, and I think that's because the older you get as a speaker, the more experience you get with your audience. As long as you've had enough time around different audiences, you learn that actually most people sitting in an audience genuinely do want to be challenged, in the sense that they want to be stretched. They don't just simply want to watch the experience of you speaking to them like they're watching a TV. And I've found that over the last 5 or 6 years, the more interaction I've had with the audience in terms of challenging them and stretching them, the more they've actually responded to me, and more importantly, the more they've got out of the experience. People that are excellent at doing this would be people like, for example, T. Harv Eker, who's extremely good at interacting with his audience in a way whereby he challenges them, stretches them, and really takes no excuses from them as an audience. And I've taken this into my own way of delivering to audiences, and it's been very powerful. So what do I mean by this? Well, there are essentially 2 ways really that you can present to an audience. You can stand up there and deliver in a fairly standard monotone type delivery. Well, actually let me rephrase that. You can stand up and deliver to your audience in any way, whether it's monotone or non-monotone, dynamic, energetic. And I'm referring to here is delivering to your audience. The other way that I believe that you can speak to an audience in such a way that it engages them more is to speak with, interact, and to your audience, enabling you to, in a completely different way, give your audience a very different experience. So, for example, I might be standing in front of my audience talking. Let's just use an example. I mean, one of the areas that I speak a lot in is the area of wealth creation and producing other forms of income and developing businesses to such an extent that people can replace their existing expenses in the household and thus not have to work again. And it's something that I mentor and coach people on as well. So this is an area that I'm very passionate about. So if I'm standing in front of an audience and I'm speaking, I might, for example, say to them, everybody in this room has the ability to create an additional income, a passive income, that over a period of time can and will, if they put enough time and energy into it, replace their existing expenses, and thus if their expenses are covered, they don't have to go into the workplace in order to create an income into the household. They can actually stop work, and the passive income coming in can now support their lifestyle. Now, even that in itself, it is a very powerful and impactful message to the average person. However, it's even more powerful when we rephrase it and we use it in such a way that we get the audience interacting. So if I was to start off again on that same message that I've delivered for a minute or so, minute and a half, I might say, for example, how many of you in the audience right now would love to be in a position that when you wake up on a Monday morning, a Tuesday morning, a Wednesday morning, a Thursday morning, and a Friday morning, and a Saturday morning, and a Sunday morning, and know that your household expenses are completely and utterly covered by the passive income of a business that you have put in place? Just stick your hand up if you truly would be inspired by that. And then you wait, so you give them a chance to respond. And then you say, okay, put your hand down just for a second. Turn to the person on your right and say to them, I love the sound of being financially independent. And then you let them do that. So now we've had 2 interactions there and the audience are completely engaged. And then having done that, you then say to them, just out of interest, stick your hand up if you really do love the sound of being financially independent. And then they stick their hands up again. Now, in the same space of time, you've got them engaging with you. And then I might say to them, give me a yes if you would like to achieve that goal in the next 18 months to 24 months. Only and only if you'd like to achieve that in the next 18 to 24 months. Give me a yes. And of course they respond with a yes or a no. Now 90% of the time or more, for the type of audience that are coming to the presentations that I'm giving in that arena, they're going to say yes. And I know that because I know my audiences before I go there. I make sure a point of doing that as well. So this is all really powerful now, because in that same space of time, I've got them interacting with themselves, with me, with a member of the audience that they're sitting next to who they may have not even spoken to. And the beautiful thing about that is that now your audiences or your audience is relating to you personally, and they're really getting the message. They're wiring their body to that message. So that's a more interactive approach. However, if you want to step it up another level, you could even take it to another level again and say, if you want to separate your audience, let's take the same approach again. Let's say you want to separate your audience in a way that separates them, I should say, from the people outside the room, separates them from other people that may be giving them negative, and so you want to challenge them. Then you might word it slightly differently or drop this into that opening section of interaction. So I might say to my audience, okay, they've all stuck their hands up and they've gone down again, and they've spoken to somebody next to them, they've reaffirmed, they've stuck their hands up again, and say, okay, I do, however, want to do one quick check here while I'm talking to everybody. My experience as a speaker, traveling around the world, speaking to thousands and thousands of people, is that there are essentially two types of people. There are those that will give you all the words in the world. They'll speak a big speak. They'll talk big about being financially independent. And I might even use the word bullshit. I'll say they even bullshit you about where they want to be in the future financially. And they'll give all the good words to say that that's what they want to do, but they do absolutely nothing about it. Now, I'm not sure if the person sitting in your seat is that person. Because the other type of person is the person that comes to an event like this. They're absolutely 100% committed. Nothing's going to stop them. Doesn't matter who gives them negatives. Doesn't matter who gives them bullshit. Doesn't matter if it's their partner at home, their relatives, their brother, their sister, family members, their boss. They don't give a damn because they are committed to changing their financial future. Those type of people don't bullshit themselves, and those type of people certainly do not make excuses for themselves. Now the question is that the person sitting in your seat, or are you, or have you been the first type of person that says a lot of stuff but doesn't do anything? Now, if you're the second type of person that is prepared to commit to your financial future and do whatever it takes, I want you not just to stick your hand up, but I want you to stick your hand up first and then stand up. Now at that point there, this is really engaging your audience to a point where they're having to stand up for what they believe in. And at the same time, you're setting a very, very clear message to your audience that you're not going to take any bullshit from them. And this is incredibly important when it comes to dealing with audiences who you know you've got several hours, several days, even just an hour to make a shift in them. Because ultimately, as speakers, although we're going up there with a message, our goal is to make a shift in our audiences on an internal level so that what we've said to them has a massive impact. And it changes not just their lives, but potentially the lives of other people around them. So, hopefully that makes sense. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to engaging your audiences. And certainly, if I was sitting opposite you and mentoring you, and you were one of my clients, I would actually be watching you and giving you feedback, and I would be encouraging you to challenge your audience that little bit more each time, to a point where we can measure the dynamics of whether you're getting to a point where you're stepping over the boundary. And there is a point with every audience. Good. Well, hopefully that makes sense, and I'll speak to you again soon.